Okay, this is going to be a very quick video of my nearly completed AR project. As you can see, it is pretty much fully assembled. I still have some things that I need to do to it. And overall, it took me a couple hours to get things together. Not that it was that difficult actually, but there were a couple problems that I ran into, and I had to modify one or two pieces to get things to fit snugly. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it did take a little extra time once I figured out what was happening and why. Okay, so overall I think it's a nice looking weapon. It doesn't have the scope on there yet, and I actually have a True Glow red dot scope that I intend to put on there. I'm not sure exactly the profile for that. I don't know whether or not I'm going to get an intermediate piece for the Picatinny rail to get it to set up a little higher, or if I'm just going to try it with the existing mount on there, and I'll showcase that a little later, the actual sight itself. But let's just take a little bit of a closer look at it, and I'll point out some of the problems that I encountered. Now, with the buttstock itself, there really was no problems, so everything worked out fine putting that on. The one thing that I did run into problems is with the slide catch release, just the roll pin. Let me see if I can get a closer view. I'll have to go to macro mode for that. Okay, yeah, I had a little problem driving that in, and I'm actually going to need another roll pin because the roll pin kind of split and went sideways. If you can imagine a tube with a split down the middle, lengthwise, and it kind of goes askew. That's kind of what happened to that as I was driving it in. So I'm just going to need another one of those. I'm not sure whether or not it was something that I did or whether or not it was just a poor manufacturer on that. Okay, I'm going to draw back. Yeah, I think it's a pretty nice looking front here on that, with the hand guard and the small rail section on top. I really don't anticipate using that, but one never knows. The one thing that this does not have, it does not have any rail on the bottom, so chances are I will not be putting a bipod or anything like that on there, or a forward grip, which is a little disappointing, but never really been that fond of forward grips anyway. But you know, since this is just a project trying out different things that I've never tried before, I was actually going to get one and see how things work out. But another problem that I encountered was something that I kind of anticipated would happen, and that was actually losing the detent on the pivot pin. A lot of you guys who have taken these things apart know that there's a small, call it a pin, that actually is attached. There's a spring on the other side. I'll flip it around. Hold on one second. Okay, and right here is the pivot pin, and let's see if I can actually take that out now. I probably won't be able to. I think I can push it through from the other side there. Okay, and let's pull that out, and you can see that golden piece right there. That's actually a spring, and there's a little pin that sits on top of that, and the purpose of the little pin is to go in those little holes there and there, and that keeps the pivot pin from coming out. So you have that spring loaded pin that is pushed up by the spring into those holes whenever you take it apart, and that keeps it from coming out. Now, getting that thing in there is pretty tricky, and obviously I didn't have the hang of the trick, and the sucker got lost. Now, it didn't go flying across the room as I've heard sometimes go, but it just dropped on the floor, and I haven't been able to find it. So I'll have to get another one of those sometime in the near future. I don't anticipate taking this out anytime soon, so that's not a big deal. I really just wanted to get the project moving forward, and I think that that's what I've done. And the last problem that I had was actually the disconnect spring, which essentially sits in here above the trigger assembly. And there's a small spring in there that sits actually between the I think it's the top of the trigger and the trigger assembly, and the spring itself was kind of V-shaped, and I had to cut a little piece of the top off because what was happening is one of the small pins here that you have to actually push through. Let me see if I can flip that over. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, one of these small pins, I think it was this one actually. This has to go through the trigger assembly and through the disconnect, and then through to the other side, as you saw. And the holes wouldn't line up, and I traced the problem to the spring itself. The spring would not compress enough to allow that pin to go through, so I had a misalignment, and I had to snip a little bit off the top of the spring. The spring still works perfectly fine. It's just that after I snipped it, it could compress far enough where I could actually push the pin through. For whatever reason, I'm not sure whether or not the spring was supposed to be that wide at the top, but if you can imagine a small trough with a cone sitting on the top of it, and the top of the cone or funnel, which is kind of what the spring was shaped like. If you can imagine the top, it just wouldn't go down any further, but snipping off the top allowed it to go down, and as I said, it still springs, it's still fully effective, but just that little piece on the top was not permitting the spring to compress enough to put the pieces together so that I could get this pin through. But overall, that was the only thing that I really had to modify, and I'll just give you guys a look at it one of these days in action. Okay, and this is kind of what it looks like with the magazine in place. Alright, I hope you liked this video. Sorry about the uhs and the ahs as far as trying to do the explanations. I'm not very good at explaining certain things, I guess. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think about my newly completed or nearly completed project. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.